Good morning. And today is going to be King Queen Diamonds. We are in the cutoff. Folds to us. We open raise. What happened? Folds to us. We open raise. Not sure what's going on here. But the button raises. 3-bets us, and we choose to call. So let's get ranges here. So my pre-flop range on the cutoff first in looks something like this, pretty wide. And I try to keep to it. I think occasionally I start to tighten up a bit, stop playing some of these suited kings, suited queens. It's kind of hard because it's this spot where everyone folds at a full ring game doesn't happen super often, but it is what it is. We raised. We've got fold to steal 75%. We've got some players that look like they don't defend a whole lot, which justifies this large range. This player raises us, 3-bets us. So I put together a range like this. This is kind of an odd 3-bet range. It's not what I normally would do. When we look at his 3-bet by position, we can see it's 17% overall. 7 out of 14. He's got 1 out of 6 from the cutoff, 3 out of 10 from the button, 1 out of 10 from the small blind, 2 out of 9 from the big blind. Almost start to think that maybe it's kind of a razor fold in these spots. We can check call 2-bet. You can see 3 out of 41. It's only 7%. Cold call 2 out of 22. So there is. He seems to be raising. Not only that, but I know that he is 3-bet with 6s, and I know that he's 3-bet with ace 10. So ace 10 offsuit. So I adjusted the percentage until I got to 6s and ace 10 to be in the range. And then what I did was narrow it down because it had some like suited connectors, suited 1-gappers. I just don't think that's what a lot of players will do. I also made the range like over 20%. I could see him doing this, 3-betting Broadway, 3-betting pocket pairs down to probably about 5s, maybe suited connectors like 9-8 and 10-9 suited. Suited aces are questionable whether or not he raises with those. I mean, he could just be entirely like this, but I'm gonna leave in the suited aces because I kind of think if you're gonna play the suited aces, he might say, well, might as well raise with him. All right, so then it came back to me, and I chose to call. So I've got a calling 3-bet range. It looks something like this. Now, I don't think the 9-8's a mistake here. That kind of is problematic because if we make the dummy end of the straight, chances are villain's going to have 2-pair or like a top pair plus hands because a lot of 3-bets tend to be like ace, king, king, queen, ace, queen. So if we connect like 10, jack, queen, well, yeah, we've completed the straight, but that's it. If we have low cards, we really only have about one flop that we're good with, and even then, you've got pocket pairs against him. I think that's why the ranges don't include that 9-8. I thought it was a mistake. I'm pretty certain I've double checked 2-3 times, and it is still just not in the range. But you can see calling range. There are some hands that I could optionally 4-bet. Ace, jack, king, queen. We could 4-bet jacks, and then we could throw in like ace 5. I chose not to do that. I chose just to call. So I already made these ranges to simplify it. So we're going these 2 ranges. You could see overall villain has overall equity, higher equity across the entire range. So we know that going forward. All right, flop is ace 10-3, so we flop a backdoor flush and a gut shot straight. Now you can see that just across the entire range, villain's ahead. I mean, we get closer to equal equity at the upper end. So I think this is one where he has equity advantage, and not a huge amount of nut advantage. Like the last time we looked, the lines were like very far apart up top here. I think this calls for betting. Not on my part. I think what we need to do is check it. I don't think we're ever going to be leading here, which is what I did. But I think when we check, we're going to set up make a check call. I think we do have the gut shot. I think that we're going with. That's going to be those hands, and I think 2-card backdoor flush draw. Definitely, we're looking at the combos here. So you're looking at those that can make both a gut shot and a draw. I think those are definitely going to be calls. Maybe not all gut shots. Ooh, oh yeah, I forgot the 5-4. 5-4. We got those. So I should, I guess, color code them. Sets 11%. I think we could possibly justify like a set and 2 pair raising. So I kind of think maybe a check raise could come with a set 2 pair and these 2-card backdoor flush draws that also have a gut shot. I think those would be solid check raising range. But we have to know that if we check raise, Villain's probably going to call unless he just completely missed, because I do think he's got an ace in his range. I think a call, we could check call with top pair. I think it would be kind of tight to just call check fold with like jacks and like the 10s. So I think those could probably be calls. Pocket pair less than the second cards. I don't think they might be able to be used to like offset ranges. But I don't think we're necessarily going to be calling with those. So what do? I checked. I think that was appropriate. Villain bet. He bet a third pot. I think he's going to be betting a third pot with a lot of his range here. I mean, he did make the play, make the raise. So if we just kind of give him everything, 100%, that might be justified. His c-bet set's pretty high already. I think this board favors him. So he has that equity advantage here. So I kind of expect him to be c-betting with 100%, or close to 100% of his range. And that means I'm going to be calling. So I could be calling with theoretically all of this range. And I think that's what I did. So if I was just going to call here with these good draws, with the backdoor flush and our gut shot draws, then we're probably going to be calling with sets and 2 pair as well. Kind of slow play it a little bit. It's kind of one of those, if we have a set, if we have a 2 pair, we've probably blocked everything or have all of the hands, so it's going to be hard for him to have stuff. We'll check GTO, but I think that's what we're going to do. We're gonna go with these ranges. 8 of hearts comes out, so if we check raised and the 8 of hearts comes out, that does not improve us. I think we're just going to probably have to check, and I think we're probably going to, if he bets, we're probably going to have to fold. And it's going to be, if we were in this spot and we bet and got check raised, and then all of a sudden on the turn he checks, I'd think twice about betting, even with my ace. I think it's a good thing to do, because now you can bet and you're really denying equity to the king queen, to the gut shots. We've lost our flush draw potential. That's kind of why we would check. Basically, we lost our backdoor flush on all of our hands, so it really just kind of narrows our ranges. So let's take a look at where we're at. You can see now that we are kind of we're ahead at the bottom of our ranges, but we're kind of behind, closer to the top. So like the mid range is kind of flipping back, and then we're about even. So it's kind of close, 50-50 just across the board. We check called, so I think we're going to be checking 100% here. And then villain check. So what we check, and I think that's okay, but then villain check. So I don't think he's going to be doing that with the set. I don't think he's going to be doing that with two pair. I do think he might be doing that with like a hand like top pair, bad kicker. So, we'll kind of maybe ace jack stays because of, we raised pre-flop and then we called. So we'll keep those. We'll go with like the lower pairs. I think we'll keep with that, including these hands that miss. So just right there, once he checks, now you can see that we've jumped ahead equity wise with our hand. Now we still have this, your 2-card backdoor straight, which is no longer a 2-card backdoor straight, but we have our gut shot, and that's going to put us kind of at the bottom. So the river comes out, ace of hearts. We have opportunity now to steal if we bet. We're basically thinking, what hands will he fold? And it just kind of depends on the player. If he's a stubborn player, he's not going to fold to a bet. I mean, he doesn't have any river folds. We're basically betting to represent the ace, which means that I kind of think villain's only going to be calling with the ace, and maybe those hands. So just that right there is 30% if our read's correct. If he goes up to middle pair, that's 40%. So he's could be folding 60%. So I kind of think this could be a decent spot to go for a bet, try to get some value. Of course, we'd go for some value with our full house. I think we'd go for some value with our 3 of a kind. Maybe not all 3 of a kind. No, I think so. We would, because if we think he's going to be calling with those, and when you break it down, let's color code these. 24%, 16%. So out of more than half that his calls will be beat by 3 of a kind. So I kind of think full house, 3 of a kind, and then maybe nothing to balance. Nothing hand to balance. I don't think you need all of them, but maybe you could turn like 5-4 suited into a bluff, and like queen jack into a bluff. Those are hands that don't really have any high card strength. Like right now, we have a king. We're ahead of king jack. We split with king queen. We're ahead of king 9 if he has it, if he's playing or queen 9, and we've got we can actually win those. But I think with 5-4 we can't. I think no matter what, we're just gonna basically lose with the 5-4 hand. So we could turn that into a bluff, and that would mean we're betting 45%. We could bet half pot. I think he's going to be folding enough to ensure just like automatic profit with this bet. I kind of think that's a mistake. And then villain checks behind. And we see showdowns, and that's where he has his 6s. So that's the weak pair. Would he have called? I just don't. I don't think so. I think when we check call the flop, that's kind of setting up that we have something, and then we check to him, which I think is standard with an ace. And then and he checks behind the turn, and then I think he opens himself up to a bet. So we lost this hand with king queen, but I don't think king queen's going to be in our bluffing range. So let's see what GTO says. Again, I think we missed the chance to win the pot by not betting the river, but I don't think king queen is in that betting range. So let's check GTO. Sure enough, once we put in the ranges, I did adjust bet size for me to see if it made sense for us to be betting like lead out small or on the larger side. And it's not. It's a check 100%, and then villain's betting basically 100%. It's favoring the larger size. I think favoring the larger size because he's just ahead across like the entire range here. I think that's probably what it's doing. It's a bit of a mixed strategy, so it looks like every hand that he has in his range, some of it's small, some of it's big. Most of it should be big, but betting small is also okay. So he bet small. I did have the raise that I was talking about. So sets and two pair. Did have the raise. He tossed GTO tosses in some of the ace jack. And that's I'm interested in our 2-card backdoor flush draws. Okay, so these are the 2-card backdoor flush draws. Ace 10. Oops. Okay. So we were betting with those. So those were kind of like your top 2-pair, top pair. And then 5-4. We're interested. Oh, King Queen, just a small. So none of these really have a strong raising range. Queen Jack, a little bit. A little bit, but 5-4 definitely is favoring a bet, which is actually kind of surprising. 5-4 of hearts he's including in the bluff, whereas all the other ones are not. So I guess the idea is if we bet with the 5-4 hearts, if we check raise and then face a 4-bet, it's easy for us to fold. Whereas if we raise with some of these other hands and face 4-bets, it might be difficult. So let's do that. Let's raise, and then he comes over the top, and you can see we are just always folding those. So at this point, we're basically just calling 2-pair, 2-pair, top pair, ace jack, and then 2-pair plus. And our 2-pair will have those backdoor flush draws. So basically the spades. Okay, so calling was appropriate. Looks like we had 8 of hearts comes out. We check, just kind of what I expected, and then Villain should be betting 55% of the time. He should be betting these small pocket pairs. He does not, so he checks, and then the river comes ace of hearts, and at this point we're betting 30%. I think that was about it. We had 45% here, so maybe a little high. What are we betting? Most of our full houses, we're withholding some to check, to protect a check, and I bet those are check raises. 3 of a kind, we're betting. Ace 9, we're not, so we're betting like ace 4, ace 5. Okay, I didn't have all of those, and then we're tossing in some of our bluffs, but king queen is not. King queen of diamonds could be small. We check, and he checks behind. He checks all of those. So I kind of think if I bet, it's wanting him to call. He's supposed to call some of these, and I think that's to prevent giving automatic profit here. So it does look like I played it okay with GTO. I guess GTO says a small probability, a small percentage we could bet on the river. And I think if we bet on the river, we are winning this pot. I think we are winning this pot, given his hand. And I actually think we're winning the pot probably 50% of the time, over 50% of the time. So maybe exploitatively, we just go ahead and we always bet. In that case, always pick up that extra. It's a interesting one. So overall, I don't think I played this hand terribly. I think there were some spots, some ranges that we need to look at. We could see the equity charts. Once it went check check, I think we are going to be heads, so we could easily bet here most of the time, based on our ranges. So different hand. Only a few more of these suited connectors left, and then I'll have to think about what hands we're gonna focus on next. So hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, you can look tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll be able to do another one. But we'll have another hand up in the next few days.